And just like that, holy banana balls, we are live on Triple T, September 26, 2023, episode 91. That still blows my mind. I literally have to look at the number when I say these things now because I'm still like, we're over 10? Holy cow. For those of you just joining in for the very first time, my name is TJ Zebel. I lovingly refer to myself as a professional problem solver, followed with the disclaimer, no, I don't know everything. I just have this unique way of asking questions to help people get to the solutions they're looking for. And if I can't help you with the solution, I have an amazing tribe that I can refer you to until we get the answer you're looking for. I also have a website, thetswb.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. That's what that means. I also offer a free 30-minute consultation. That is your time to spend with me to ask me anything. If you have some challenges you're going through and want some help with, I do help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, relationships. Boy, that has been huge lately, especially with all the stuff going on since the scamdemic hit in. And I also do corporate coaching and work with professional athletes. Well, actually, athletes all the way up from the beginning to the professional level for performance enhancement. And that's about that much of this much of the things that I do. But we're not here to talk about the rest of them. For those of you on YouTube live, hi, Mom. And be good people, impress my mom. Click the subscribe button and ring the bell and leave comments, and then leave comments on your comments because I like reading the comments, and so does my mom. So do it for my mom if you're not going to do it for me. And that, I think, takes care of all of the introductory stuff. I want to, again, thank all of you joining the live portion. If this is your first time or the first time that you've watched the recording, the first hour, I've got 3 topics that I come up with, and we try to get through them in the first hour. Second hour is open platform, open mic. If you have any topics or questions that you would like, save them for the second hour, and you're welcome to bring them up. In fact, you're invited, and I would appreciate it if you'd bring them up. And I let everybody on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And if there's anything I can add to it, then I add after everybody else has had a chance to talk. But I also like to open these up with asking everybody, is there any ahas, epiphanies, holy smokes, and Batman things you'd like to share from the last 7 days since we all got together here? Yes, Lenore.
I wanted to share that holographic memory resolution was published in one of 3 coming medical journals. This one was Psychiatric Research and Clinical Practice. And the conclusion, I'm going to not read the whole thing, but the conclusion is HMR, so holographic memory resolution, is feasible and suggestive of being a potential intervention for chronic pain and its accompanying symptoms. And I posted it in the NLP groups and everything that we're in. So I'm super excited because getting published in a medical journal is a huge deal. And it's incredibly exciting because this work started back in 2021, was during the clinical trials that this work was done. So now it's 2023 that it's finally coming out. And sometimes they take like 10 plus years to get published. So
yes,
super excited.
That's this piece of wallpaper right here that I'm very proud to display. That was given to me by Mr. Brent Baum, who is the man, the myth, the legend behind HMR, which I use in my own way quite often. So for those of you that want more information on that, I highly recommend reaching out to Brent, taking his classes, learning his techniques, because they are amazing. I also want to welcome Kevin and Jade on the call. I was doing my intro before. Appreciate you guys showing up. Thank you for your support.
Glad to be here.
What? Yeah, thank you. Anybody else got anything they want to share from the last 7 days before we jump into the topics? I always post my topics on my Facebook pages, one under my name, TJ Zebel, and one under my TSWB Helps page on Facebook. Got a little late this week, so if you guys looked earlier, I apologize. It's a little busy around here. But topics for tonight: reason or season, loving yourself, and best one yet. So we'll jump right off into reason or season. These actually, all three of these, I'm gonna let you know right off the get-go, are the result of a couple of my clients that are in the later stages of their wait to date protocol. And I could not be happier. I don't know if I get to call myself a happy papa, whatever, da 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 da. They are totally rocking it. The ahas, epiphanies that are coming out are making my heart dance, because they're becoming somebody that is so far beyond what they thought they were capable of. And reason or season actually came from one of my clients. And it's looking at these potential partners now. Are they a reason for a lesson? Are they simply a season of my life? Or are they my king? And with 365 days of research, interpretation, and development, it's interesting how the progression of the people that they've been around and were interested in continued to elevate. And they also noticed an improvement in their tribe as they continued to elevate in who they are, their outlook, and working on themselves, their values and criteria, and everything in around. Interesting things started to happen. Some of the people that they had to interact with also changed. Some of them dropped off. Some new ones came in to replace them. And even some of the ones that dropped off, when they came back, were different. Acted different, talked different, treated them different. Energy was different. And one of the things that they embraced more and more was not getting so attached on the position or the label that they were giving to people in their lives. You're here for a reason or a season. And when they detached from that, it was much easier for them to be exactly who they wanted to be. And the more they were their authentic self around everybody, the more the people were accepting them. And so I think it's important for us to analyze, why is it important that we keep certain people in our lives? And why is it important about the labels that we give them? If you've been around Planet TJ long enough, you've heard me say many, many times, nothing means anything until you give it a label. Well, who are these people in your life? Well, they're label, label, label. And then we have a hard time wanting to change that label. Once we start accepting that these people are around for a reason or a season, a lesson or leaving, it's much easier to be more flexible with the labels and putting ourselves first. And as much as I hate to throw anybody for a loop, that also includes family. Oh, but they're family. Yeah, and sometimes, I hate to say it, family can be some of the most toxic beings in our environment. And yes, you're probably going to have to deal with them, but don't put the heavy importance on the family part as much as protecting yourself. I've said many times, we can take a hit when we understand the environment much better than we can by surprise. Or if we believe that we're not allowed to fight back for certain reasons. Well, you can't speak that way to so-and-so because they're family. If I have to speak to so-and-so because they're family, I'm over 18, and maybe somebody out of the family needs to speak to them that way. And yes, Kevin, blood is thicker than water was originally the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of birth, yes. And that needs to be another thing to analyze for the labels. I call it airplane rule. When the oxygen mask drops, who do you put it on first? Put it on you first, because if you aren't healthy, if you can't take care of yourself, who can you take care of? And so if you need to protect yourself from family, longtime friends, then that's what you need to do. Either they're the reason for the lesson, or they're just part of a season of your life. There are plenty of people on this planet. There are plenty of ways to find people on this planet. And there are plenty of ways to build your tribe and expand your tribe and get new tribes. I find that so often people that are afraid of offending people, it's out of a scarcity. Oh, I don't want to be alone. Well, then don't move to a deserted island. Other than that, the planet has plenty of people on it. Right or right? And now here we are proving that it doesn't even have to be the people close enough that live close enough for you to throw a rock at and hit their domicile. We got Miss Fran on here from Australia. Pretty good throwaway. So, and then we've got Jade on the West Coast, and Linda's in Florida, and Lenora's on the East Coast. It's never been easier to stay in touch with the tribe. We have this ability to think that it's much harder than it is. There are commonality groups that are looking for people all the time. What do you have to give? What do you have to provide? What can you offer? All the people that I'm looking at on screen right now, y'all have a lot to offer. Holy bananas. Any tribe that you get introduced to is beyond lucky. So protect yourself. Move up in the world. Told my another client today, understand what the universe has to offer. Too often, we're afraid to go to the universe asking for some water. I hate to ask. I mean, I know it's a lot. Could I have a little water? And every now and then the universe goes, would you turn around? And you turn around, and where are you? On the beach of the ocean. And the universe goes, you're worried about asking for a glass of water? That's all you really want? Ask for a lake. I'll put it in your backyard because you deserve it. You're worth it. It's not like I'm worried about a lake of water, and look what I got. And I created that. I can create another couple of oceans. Any input, ahas, epiphanies on that? I'm not a trance.
I love that you, is it a reason or a season? I think that's a really good perspective, especially when it comes to family, because that might not be for a season, but you can absolutely learn things from that. You can learn the reason why that they're in there, especially when Dolores Cannon offers the suggestion that you made contracts with people and they're here to teach you things. And they came in saying that they will be the villain in your life, or you will be such and such in their life. And you made soul contracts and things like that. And I think it's just a different perspective. And it never ceases to amaze me how expansive and thought-provoking the conversations that we have are, but also the conversations like within this group. And then you have these other side conversations, how expansive they are. And you think back to when you first started and how limited you were, because I definitely get in that mindset of, can I have a cup, when you're absolutely right. The lake exists. So does the ocean. So
thank you for sharing that. The squirrel just delivered this. There are different seasons, even in your family relationship. You're born, springtime, oh, everything is growing, all sorts of stuff. Mom and dad are God. And then you grow up and then you realize mom and dad aren't God, I'm God. And then you realize I'm not God, they're not God, who's God? And then you have the rebellious state, and then you turn 18. Whoa, now it's up to you. And even if the parents want to cling on to it and keep you a kid, you're over 18. You get to start making choices. And it doesn't matter where you grew up, rich or poor, all the above. You don't get to blame things anymore on your parents, your friends, where you grew up, your status, what school you went to, because we live in an era of opportunity now. There's more opportunity than there ever has been. We've seen way too many stories of people that came from nothing, absolutely nothing, and made the decision to be the first millionaire in the family, to be the first doctor in the family heritage, to be the first whatever. They made the choice. And we have that option, and so you now get to decide what season are you experiencing with your family, with your friends. There are some friends that we outgrow. They're only put in our life for a season. And maybe they're in winter. One of the other things that came out of today's session was when I told them you don't burn bridges. You don't have to burn the bridge. You're the king or the queen of your kingdom. You can move the bridge. Maybe the bridge used to be allowed to be inside the city walls. But after the things that they've done and the things they've shown and who they've proven themselves to be, move the bridge to the outside of the kingdom. Put a restriction on it. Put a door on it. Leave the bridge intact. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people, they don't need a bridge. You can blow that bridge up and they can just whatever. But for the most part, you don't have to destroy the bridge. You get to put restrictions on it when they're allowed to cross it, where you might meet them on the bridge. Like, you know what? You don't get to come to my side, and I'm not going to your side, but we can meet in the middle and, have a little chit chat, maybe a tea. But then you go back to your side, I go back to my side. I'm going to shut the door, put the lock on it, and you can let me know the next time you want to have a little chit chat. That makes sense? Glad to see Savo joined us. Good to see your smiling face, my brother. Any other ahas, epiphanies on that before we switch topics? Feeler. Okay, moving on. Loving yourself. I figured when I said that somebody would go there. I saw that smile. Not quite what I meant. But a lot of people, it's interesting how they don't quite fully understand the concept behind this. But when they do, they get it. And loving yourself, all the things you've gone through, all the things you've survived, all the things, all the experiences, all of the ups and downs and the storms and the rainbows and everything that got you here, including all the potential people you have the ability to become. And some would say you also have to love your flaws, but that's a label that I don't think fits properly. You're allowed to love all the less than positive versions from your past because they still are what made you who you are today. And it's not worth the time to hate them because it's still you. And it's not worth the time, well, I should have done this or I should have done that. And pretty soon you get into shoulda, 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 and now you're living a shoulda life, and who wants a shoulda life? Gather up all the lessons, leave the shoulda, coulda, wouldas back there, and let them propel you into where you have the potential to grow, to become the best version of you possible. And if somebody did something, I love the saying, the best revenge is to become the best person possible that you can be. And yeah, Kevin, I like that. Don't should on yourself. Again, leads to a shitty life. And so loving yourself, the ability to look yourself in the mirror. That's why when I do future pacing with certain clients, I will have them walk through the place that they're currently living in the future. Spend a little time in this new reality. Walking around the place where you live and stop in front of a mirror and notice how you feel about the person looking back at you. And that allows us the ability to do some introspect to see if there are any things that we can improve on, that we can work on. But it also allows the clients to see the potential of who they can become and what it feels like when they get to that point and they can look in the mirror and go, wow, wow, look at who we've become. And the ability to look in the mirror, look yourself right in the eye and say, I love you. I love all of you. And feel it in all the best ways. But my clients who have gotten to that next level of loving themselves have all commented, once they love themselves completely, hate and animosity and conflict gone. One client said never in her life did she think she would be able to walk up to her ex and say, I forgive you. completely. Look them straight in the eye. I forgive you. And look at their new spouse who've been bagging on them and turning the kids against them and say, and I forgive you too. The other thing that they said was they're not only are they not angry, they no longer uh, participate in low energy uh, stuff like gossip. They said as soon as they got to the point where they absolutely loved themselves and were able to forgive people, like really forgive them, because forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. What they did was still horrendous, but that's on them. That's the karma they get to walk around with. Forgiving them allows you to just go, I don't need to carry your feces with me anymore. I forgive you. I'm moving on. And when they said they don't take they don't participate in gossip anymore, they said because all of a sudden I feel the energy inside of the words, and I'm like, all I can say now is somebody starts gossiping, and I'm like, oh, how sad for them. I hope something, I hope that works out for them, or I hope something turns around. And they said it doesn't take long before the people that like to gossip are like, they're not fun to gossip with anymore. And all of a sudden the gossiping stops. And the energy shifts. Conversations get cleaner, better, more uplifting. And so again, it starts with you. Love yourself. Look in the mirror. Listen to your voice, including, and I can vouch for how unnatural it can feel, is hearing your voice in recordings. Being an audio tech for as long as I've been, it's always common. People will hear their voice in a recording. They're like, can't stand my voice. I'm like, yeah, but do you know why? Very few people do. The reason people can't stand their hearing their voice in a recording is they cognitively know it's them. But our entire life, we hear our voice from an interior resonance in our ear, not the way the world hears it as a projection of sound waves out of our mouth through the air. And so hearing what our voice sounds like as a natural sound wave carried through the air sounds completely foreign to us. And I'll admit, took me a while to get used to hearing my voice and realizing that's the voice you guys hear. That's the voice you get to put up with every time I communicate with you. And as Vin pointed out, our voice is so flexible, but not enough people take the time to use all the keys. In fact, I'm sure we all know that one person who has one key on the keyboard and they talk the same key the entire time and they sound like a robot, and you're like, oh my goodness, you're as exciting as a piece of cardboard that is in a rain bucket. Oh, gee whiz. Spend some time listening to recordings of yourself and understand that's what the world hears. Everybody except you hears that voice, and that's the one that they love, and you should love it as well. I had one client, that female, that hated her voice, said it was so high and shrill and squeaky. And I had to point out, I'm like, no offense, you're a petite female. The last thing guys want when they see you is a baritone with boobs. Just saying, like, that would kind of freak me out. If this petite, cute little thing come in and go, "Hi, nice to meet you," I'd be like, try again. So again, love yourself, all of yourself, everything about yourself. And if there's things that you notice about yourself that could use improvement, work on them. If you don't know how to work on them, find somebody like the people that are on this call. Even the people that don't know how to spell NLP can help you with improvement. Because if you're honest with them and you ask them with open heart intention, what could I, what could I improve on? And if they know that you're actually asking with sincerity, they can always find something. Because even when we think we're at the top of our game, there's always something we could add to it. Any ahas, epiphanies, things that you guys would like to share on that topic? Please.
I actually had a question for you and the entire group. What are some of the things that you do to raise your awareness that you love yourself? I don't know if you guys grew up with the concept of loving yourself, or you grew up with the concept of you come last. And that's why I find this concept beautiful, but I also find it foreign, that it hasn't fully integrated. It's definitely integrated way more than it has in the past. But what else are you guys doing? What else do you find helps you, or what has helped your clients?
Sabo.
Hey, everybody. I was reading Jung last night, and he was saying you become the very same thing that you fear the most. And in nowadays society, this term came around 60s, 70s. It says self-esteem. And I always imagine steam coming out of someone's ears as if it's a thing. And so what Jung says is you become what you fear the most, and mostly people start to nowadays to be afraid of that I'm not enough. I don't have enough self-esteem, and I say, how will you know? Would one bucket of self-esteem work? How will you know if you have enough self-esteem? In other words, also, how do you know when you're good enough? And then they go, well, if I do good enough in business, and I go, how about your love life? And they go, well, I'm really good, I'm happy there. So now the question is, Well, that means that it's not like wide across all the context. It's contextual. It's really, you can't say someone is good enough person and someone is not, because it's really contextual. So as soon as that question is asked, good enough for what, that kind of goes away. And so this concept of self-love is really interesting to me. As I look into it deeper, it dissolves sort of, because self-love is a given. We all love ourselves. Every part of ourself is doing the best it can with the resources it has for our best interest. And that's the very same thing when we do parts integration. Then we start to realize that every single part. Now, sometimes we have confliction and you're not aware there is confliction. A part of us can prevent us from, let's say, wants to keep us safe because by being afraid of what's unknown. And a part of us wants to step into unknown so it can achieve more. But both of our parts are loving us. It's just a matter of integration.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that, Sabo. Jade, you got your hand up?
Yes. So for me, something that I realized on my personal journey is that, and some people might resonate with this, but just even the idea of having wants and needs, if those weren't met in childhood or taken into consideration, can cause a person to actually have almost like a hatred towards the fact that they even have wants and needs. And so something that I found has been really purposeful for me is just the acceptance that we all have wants and needs, and it's okay. And being able to actually write down what those wants and needs are in a list, to have them right there in front of me, and even to be able to recognize, that it's okay sometimes for things to be transactional as well, because we have wants and needs. As long as the other person is in agreement with that and you guys are both getting something from the interaction, it can be really beneficial. And there may be things on your list that you find other people are actually really wanting to meet that need for you, and that they would love to do that for you, versus, maybe you were trying to get that want or need met somewhere where that wasn't a possibility before. And so just having that sort of list and being able to even share it with the people that you do have in your life, to be able to sort of look at like what, out of my friends or family, what kinds of wants or needs would this other person like to meet for me, and what can I do for them that we're going to actually really enjoy doing, so that both people feel like they're, it's like, I saw this little meme once, and both people were like pouring water into each other's plant, and it reminds me of that. So that's been something I think that's been really helpful for me. And then I don't know if any of you listen to Till Swan, but she always says, what would someone who loves themselves do? Kind of like, what would Jesus do? But what would someone who loves themselves do? And to just ask yourself that question in any moment that you have any sort of decision to make is really helpful, to be able to see, if I did love myself, what is it that I would choose to do right now? And then choose that thing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, you spot on. And the other part that has is the law of reciprocity. People love to help people. And in doing so, when help is received, you enjoy that ability to reciprocate. And if you start building a tribe and a community of reciprocating love and values met and things of that nature, and helping build each other up, what a great environment to be in. Like you say, watering each other's plants. yeah, you can water your own plant, but there's just something about the act of helping somebody else. Even small stuff, you guys have heard me say it many times. Small compliments. It may seem like nothing at the time, and it costs you nothing, but you have no idea what the other person, what kind of day the other person is having. And maybe that small flyby compliment might be just that extra little to steer their day into a better location. Anything else before we move on? Try and squeeze in 3 topics again. Go for one more in a row. No? Best one yet. And this again, like I said, all 3 topics are in line with the way to date protocol that I've been using with my relationship clients. And again, it's not just personal relationships. They're using, and this is morphing into building or improving tribes and improving or finding a new employment. So you take all of these concepts and build the best life you can. And the best one yet came out of a client that just got I had 2 clients today, both of them in wait to date, go figure. And one has 2 months left and one is 2 months in. The one that has 2 months left has progressively increased the quality of the men that she's been with. And is thinking the one that she's with right now, probably the king. And I said, you still have 2 months left. So far, this is the best one yet. The second client, who's 2 months in, about 2 weeks after making the agreement to herself and to me for the wait to date, has now kind of been seeing somebody, and it's going really good. And I said, well, did you or did you not come to me to have something different? Because you wanted something better, because you were tired of dating the same jerk in a different meat suit. You're 2 months in, so he may be the best one yet, but you have 11 months to go. Now, I'm not saying at all, I don't know this person, I don't know how in alignment he is with what you're looking for. I am, however, saying you're allowed to open your heart completely for viewing purposes only. She was like, what? What do you mean? I said, you are in the early stage. You're not only in the first very early stage of the wait to date protocol, you just met somebody new. And when we meet somebody new, especially if they're kind of attractive, kind of says the right thing, kind of does some of the right thing, we like to open our heart and show it to them so that hopefully they will find something they will like and attach to it, and they will open their heart, and we can find something we like so we can attach to it, and then we're attached. And then, of course, we have to go and put a label on it. Well, what are we? Are we like boyfriend, girlfriend? Are we like just hanging out? Are we just sleeping around? What do we do? You know, are we in a committed relationship? Boom, label. And all of a sudden, all the research changes. Just like that. And we stop looking for things the way we should. We stop analyzing the things the way we should. And I said, I'm not telling you to go out and sleep around and see how many guys you can get to take you out. But in a way, I kind of am. Not the sleep around part. But right now, your castle has a very, very important room, and that's the classroom. You still have the dining room and the living room and all of the other rooms, but you still have the Queen's sanction. And they're not allowed in there. Don't get me wrong, there's still a bedroom in the classroom. Notice how I said there's a bedroom in the classroom. But it's not the Queen's bedroom. They're like, well, yeah, but that, just, like being intimate like that or something with somebody when I'm not in a committed relationship goes against my values and criteria. I said, good, as it should. However, in the wait to date protocol, you need to have full analysis of your current values and criteria so that you can change to enhance them to fit who you are destined to become. And you may have to tweak them a little bit while in, oh no, good question, Kevin. Wait to date protocol is a protocol that I came up with specifically to help relationship clients. And so they have 1 year to not be in a committed relationship. And they are instructed to go out and do more, see more, and evaluate more than they ever have. I tell them, I want you to pay close attention to I'm just going to keep it, the gender that you're interested in. You now pay close attention more than ever to every single representative of that gender. Young, old, single, in a relationship. All the above, and find out, because you're researching, what is it about them that you notice? What is that important about? And you start analyzing, what is it about them that you like or dislike? And it's not about the person personally. It's about research and analysis to find out who you truly are and what you can do to become far beyond what you have been. to make sure that you don't end up dating the same flippin' loser in another meat suit. Go out in groups, go out single. I said, learn to love yourself so much that you're willing to go to a location or event all by yourself, because you don't need somebody else to validate who you are. And while you're at the event by yourself, allow yourself to interact with people, to watch people, to analyze them. Notice and pay attention to what you notice. When somebody catches your eye, how come? What was it about them catching your eye that caught your eye? Did you like it or not? Why was that important? Get into conversations with couples. You've never met them. You may only know them for the 15, 20 minutes that you're there. And let them know. I'm just doing some research. I'm interested. Would you guys mind sharing how you met, or what da 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 da? And if one goes to the bathroom, go, so out of curiosity, I'll never let them know, but what's one thing that you would change about your partner if you could? Remember, it's 1 year of research. And I've got 3 clients now that are on the backside of their wait to date protocol. And their journal of their person, we're just going to say has changed a bit. Yeah, it's changed a bit. Because at the front side, when I had them start their journal, they were still going by the values and criteria that they've been utilizing their whole dating life. Even the ones that were in long marriages realized that their values and criteria for dating, they pretty much assembled when they were like 15 to 17. And they're not that person anymore, but they're still attracting that person. And maybe they ended up with a gaslighting narcissist who really messed with their values and criteria and got them to believing lies about themselves that it took them this long in the wait to date protocol to realize, I don't have to put up with it. No, that's not who I am. No. And it gave them a year of deep introspective to learn how to completely love themselves first. And the quality of people that approached them continued to improve. And as it did, each one that approached them gave them new lessons, new insights, helped them reevaluate their values and criteria to a new level. And one of the metaphors I gave my last client today was, because she was a lady, I said, some of you ladies, when I say you're the queen of your kingdom, are the queen of such a devastated, barren kingdom And when you envision your king, he's at the same level. And you've forgotten to work on your kingdom. And when you realize that you can have anything in your kingdom, you can build your kingdom to the point that you are the queen of kingdoms. When you walk around, people don't know you, but they know that you're royalty because they can feel your energy. Your status, your love, your energy enters the room 10 minutes before you do, whether the people know you or not. And that's why the king that you end up attracting is that king that you were afraid of. You would have been absolutely, oh, you wouldn't even been confident enough to look at him because he's up here. And now you realize that you are here or here. And the two of you, back to a couple of triple T's ago, who manifested who? When it's a match, does it really matter? You don't have to settle. You don't have to ask for a teaspoon of water. The universe has oceans waiting for you. And that takes us to the top of my hour. Anything you guys would like to share before we move on? Any ahas, epiphanies, inputs on that last one? Come out of trance. Ah. Well, if I got you all in trance and that was all groovy and cool, then I guess we are on to hour number 2. So we need some topics and questions that we can discuss. Who's got the first one? Come on, come on. I know some of you have notebooks full of them. I've seen them. Am I going to have to start requiring, like, at the half hour, you all have to start putting in questions for the second hour just so that I can pick them out right from the get-go?
I have a question.
Good.
Shocking, I know. So I came across two statements in two different things that I was reading. And for those of you who don't know, the way that I read a book is I hop around. Like, I am not a cover to cover kind of person. It's very sporadic, and I have bits and pieces of books all over the place. One of them, she had said, I decided to step on the magic carpet and enjoy the ride. And I thought that was such an interesting way to approach the day. And I was curious as to what that sounded like for you. If you woke up in the morning and you said, I'm going to step on the magic carpet today, what does your day look like? And the other one that I came across was, well, and now I'm trying to think of it. What would it look like if you flirted with life? Life, not death. What would it look like if you flirted with life?
Okay, you guys get to go first. Boy, have I got an answer for the first one. Really? Nothing? No comments? Nothing? Got nothing for her?
What would it look like if we were allowed to flirt with life?
Mm-hmm. If you decided to flirt with life.
Um, I haven't had that much success the times that I did try and flirt with life. I got all cocksure and put myself in a situation that really was not to my highest good.
Right. Well, there you go. That's a different perspective. How might you approach it differently now, knowing what you know?
Um, Hiding away for 2.5 years.
Well, was that a reason or a season?
I didn't see that one coming either, Kevin.
I feel it's been a season, but I also have the trepidation whenever I am contemplating whether or not the season is done. Just because for everything there is a season, but my ability to distinguish what season it is or is coming to be is a little altered by flaring hormones and all of that.
Did it teach you what happens when you flirt with the wrong I want to say facet of life? Because there's lots to life.
Mm-hmm. I feel that it taught me to keep my eyes open and not get tunnel vision on something that I find attractive, whether it's a character or a physical, quality, a particular person. I've had that tendency to get completely, enamored with whatever it was or whoever it is.
That's actually what a whole lot of the Wait to Date protocol is designed to help people avoid. Kind of protects against the ready, fire, aim.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole wake up and get on the magic carpet, that's probably a little bit more me. I I have I'm good at following structure when there's a reason for the day to be structured, and I should probably structure it a little bit more. But I'm I've always been kind of a roll with the flow, jump on the magic carpet, and let's see where we end up at the end of the day. Right, Mom? Love on Mom. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that if we had multiple snapshots of my guardian angel, I know inside there's plenty of them going, oh, dude, really? And I've shook hands with Jesus enough times where the fact that I'm here, breathing, able to communicate with you guys yet, again, guardian angel's going, he's finally asleep. I need a break. I'm going to kill him one of these days. If he doesn't kill himself, when he dies, I'm going to kill him again.
I was very specific. I did say life, flirting with life. Yeah. There was a specification in that one.
Jade.
I think that's funny. And I was thinking that when you said flirting with life, not death. I tend to be pretty impulsive. For anybody who knows astrology, I have Mars in Aries and I'm a Sag, so I tend to really like adventure and to go after what I want. And I can be a little bit experimental when it comes to myself. I could know I'm going in a direction that might not end so well, but if it's the direction I want to go, then I want to go that way, and I'm gonna see how it's gonna end. And so I'm curious though, when you say flirt with life, I'm curious what that would look like in a healthy way for someone.
Well, to clarify, I don't flirt with death because I know that that's like permanent. But my mom will verify I've been flirting with life a good portion of my life just because I'm like, there's got to be more out there. There's got to be, and I've not been afraid of trying new things. Uh, uh, it took me a whole whopping uh, from start to finish. I think it. I decided I was going to go to Europe the day that I got laid off from a bar manager position. Got the guy got rid of me because I was too young to be running a bar, even though I totally improved it many ways. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to Europe for a year. My mom's like, you what? 2 months later, off I go for a year. And when you said flirting with life, that's kind of what I envisioned. My uncle and I, one time Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving, we're chit chatting, going, you know, it's going to get pretty cold here pretty soon. We should head south. Okay. And I think it was a week later. It was on his birthday. We both jumped into a pickup with no job in sight. I knew one person in Phoenix, Arizona, and we hit the road on an adventure. And then we got to Phoenix, and I found a job, and he didn't, so he booked. And I spent my last penny to buy a Vegas station wagon that I couldn't even license because I didn't know about smog passing. We didn't have that where I grew up, so I couldn't even license the darn thing. And I couldn't afford a place to live, so I slept in my car out in wherever I could park it until I saved up enough money to rent a bedroom in a trailer, a double wide trailer in a trailer park. So yes, I've flirted with life quite a bit, and the adventure continues. Jade.
I just want to add in, it does really make for an exciting story, though.
have Jade, have you heard me talk about uh, Grandpa Hugh telling me about stories, collecting stories?
I'm not sure I did hear that.
It's been a while since I've told it. That the town that I grew up in, 187 people, more cattle than people. And Grandpa Hugh was known throughout the town as the person who'd done everything. He's been everywhere. Just ask him, he'll tell you. He's got more stories than, but he had the pictures to back him up. And one day I was over at Grandpa Hugh's and he was telling me one of his great adventures, and I'm just sitting there like a kid, like, and all of a sudden, about halfway through the story, he just stopped and he goes, you know, when you get to be my age, make sure that you've got enough stories about yourself or whatever so that you can have something to talk about other than what your neighbors are doing.
I don't know if anyone's seen that Big Fish.
What's that?
I don't know if anybody's seen that movie. It's called Big Fish.
Well,
It's one of my favorite movies, but it reminds me of what you're saying. And it's about a man, and he tells all these really elaborate like stories. And his son, of course, like didn't appreciate them. But then when he's passing away, he learns to like really appreciate the stories, because that's what he has with his dad, all these amazing stories that he would tell. But yeah, I mean, it's for a really exciting life, I think, and a lot of really good memories.
Absolutely. The other one, what was it? Old Lions, or darn it, I can't remember the title of it now. That was about the two.
Secondhand Lions.
What's that? Secondhand
Secondhand
Lions.
Lions.
Oh, love it. Yeah. And, you know, those guys, it was killer, but all the stories they could tell, and you're like, oh, yeah, if you haven't seen Secondhand Lions, oh, yeah, I've only watched it like 13 times, and I might have to watch it again soon. And I'm not going to do a spoiler alert, but if you see them in an old sitting at a bar in an old what would you call it, the old grocery store mercantile, in an old mercantile, don't get up. Make sure
Say
you
like a five and dime.
It is classic. Talk about guys that flirted with life. Okay. Anybody else want to comment on that? Yes, definitely watch it. And it's kid friendly. In fact, it would be a really good educational one for kids. Teach them how to flirt with life, and um, there's a good lesson given to a couple of young men in the movie. And those that have seen it know exactly what I'm talking about.
Did you ever see, or did anybody ever see the movie The Kid with Bruce Willis?
Yes.
Came out in early 2000. He talks to his younger self, literally comes back to him and is following him around. And there's a lesson that he has to learn, and they go through all these adventures, and it's a really, really, really good movie. I highly recommend, especially given the work that we do and taking care of that personal side and that inner child and stuff. Excellent movie.
As long as we're going through excellent movies, there was another one that I watched with Bill Murray called St. Vincent. That one I'm probably not as kid friendly as the other ones. Watch it first, depending on the age of the kid. But yeah, single mom ends up next to a crotchety old man, but moving into a house next to a crotchety old man, and don't miss the very last part of the movie. If you fell asleep, you got to watch it again. Say, The Atom Project. I don't know if I've seen that one. Good, now I got one to watch. Look at us. For those of you on, oh yeah, right on. Same here, Jade. Good thing I don't fall asleep during movies. I'm the same way. Although I know plenty of other people that have watched movies like 7 times and still have no idea how it ended. There was one movie that I did fall asleep on and thought I missed the best part. So I went through lost another 2 hours of my life watching it to try and figure out if I missed the best part, and realized that I fell asleep like 15 minutes before it ended and nothing got better. And it had rave reviews and everybody talks about. And I realized it's one of those movies you either love or can't stand. I'm definitely in the can't stand department. And one of my best friends in Cali thinks it is the best movie ever created, knows all the lines, can say it in the language, in the accent that the whole movie is based on, which is way exploded. The movie, anybody want to know? They even had a TV show about it.
Bridges of Madison County.
Well, that's all I got to say about that then there, you know. Virgo. And for all you Fargo fans out there, stop. And there ain't a lot of them from Fargo. They're from the rest of the country, because all the people around Fargo are going, yeah, I know that, yeah, see? Even Nancy hated that movie. You know why? Because we live where they think we talk like that, to that extreme. I used to have people, when I'm calling some of my vendors, like, where do you live? I'm like, well, I'm halfway between Minneapolis and Fargo. Oh, Fargo, yeah, that great movie, Dan. You know, that, oh, the way the people talk around there, you know, that. I'm like, no, we don't talk like that unless we're making jokes. They made the whole movie that way. Well, I guess I can put down tonight's topics, movies. But there's a lot to be said about movies, and then there's the rest of life. Here's a spin on that if people don't have topics and questions. Understanding that you are the writer, the producer, the editor, the lead of your own movie. Who are you allowing to control the pen to write the script?
I like the one where I actually wrote it down just a few minutes ago. It's really funny that it ended up going this way, and then you brought that up. If you knew a camera was following you around all day, following your every move, what would you do? How would you act? Especially if this was documentary of you becoming the person you want to be, and they followed you everywhere. How different would you act? It's such a shift in perspective, and every time I think about it, I'm like, oh my God.
And here's the other thing. What if you had unlimited possibilities for the script? Would you change the location? Would you change the co-stars? Would it be a comedy or a drama? Rom-com. Oh. Some days it's a cooking show. All right, guys, this is supposed to be your hour. I feel like I'm filling it up.
I like the idea of it being a rom-com.
So do I.
Yeah. unlimited possibilities. Do you guys ever, I know we actually, if we're going to circle back to a topic that I wanted to come back to a couple weeks ago, future pacing. So I know one of them, especially when you go ahead and you land down and you look around where you are. What do you do if that feels uncomfortable or it feels too far? Or how else do you future pace when it is feeling good? How are you integrating that? Love that Jade already has her hand up.
Yes.
All right. So I actually find that this is like one of the greatest techniques ever to find out what's in the way of what it is that you're wanting for your future.
That
And
makes sense to be like going to the end and coming back.
Like hold that outcome and really like feel into it. You're going to notice all the stuff that's in the way. So like you said, you might get an uncomfortable feeling, and that's, you know, that emotion is trying to tell you something. So if you sort of shift yourself to really just feeling that emotion and starting to observe it, it might like that come back, you know, where that sort of unprocessed emotion got stuck in your system from. And there might be a belief tied around that as well. Like, I never get anything good, or I never get what I want, or I always get disappointed, or that's not possible. Like all of those things will start kind of flooding up to the surface. And that has to happen in order for you to get to that outcome anyway. So there's a lot of different, there's so many different techniques you could use to deal with whatever comes up for you. But I just wanted to mention that if that happens, you know that there's stuff coming up so that you can get to that outcome.
I love that, because usually I would think, like, especially if I'm future pacing something, it's a possibility versus, yes, this is something I definitely want to happen. But I love that you pointed out going to the end first, because you can then backtrack. Absolutely, especially with sitting with the emotion of what's coming up. Why is this stuck? For sure. That was awesome. Thank you, Jade.
Who else has something to offer us? One of the things that I let my clients know, it's like setting an intentional location on a GPS. And the map that it shows you how to get there, now that pretty much everybody's familiar with GPS, if the road is out, what happens? Reroute, reroute. If you take a wrong turn, reroute. If you have a flat tire, it may be a little detour. It may take a little bit longer than you anticipated, but you have a GPS location that you're heading towards. So the future pace isn't meant to be, this is going to happen on this date. We are going to go this direction. If it don't work, failure. Complete failure. The world completely explodes. Everybody dies. And sometimes along the way, you get a different perspective. And like Jordan Peterson says, the different perspective is because of the distance you've traveled on the other route. And you would have never gotten that perspective back there. So even though you future paced and set that GPS coordinate up here, as you're traveling along and you're experiencing life and you're growing and you're changing, that GPS location may change. And that's okay, because then it's intentional. And the world does not end because we change the direction and we are off the beaten path.
Whenever my direction would change, or if I didn't get to the goal, I did feel like being a failure. Period. End of story. That was a constant.
Yes, reason or season. And was there a lesson that was learned? And did you allow yourself to understand that you were supposed to get to that point, to that lesson, and you may not have gotten to the GPS location yet? You may have thought it was only supposed to take you 3 weeks. You didn't realize that you were supposed to take the detour that brought you by the lesson so that you could reevaluate, is that GPS location that I had originally set the right one? Or now that I have new information, can I reset it to a different one, a better one? The ones that make me sad is when they set their goal right there. Yeah, right there. Well, no offense, but you can trip. You can take your first step and trip and touch the goal. Got it. All right, cool. Yeah, well, you did something. You moved forward 6 inches. But why not set one out there that's scary? Well, what if I don't make it? But what if you do?
No, I feel like I could see the benefit of setting smaller ones, because then you don't get a massive burn and thinking that you're a failure because other things didn't come to fruition. So when you set the smaller one, you're actually building your hey, I can do this. Hey, you're building your strength. You're building your awareness of, okay, now I can make it a little bit harder. Now I can make it a little bit harder versus, I don't know about any of you, but I certainly have thrown a very far goal out there and been like, I'm totally this, and didn't come to pass.
What if you set a whole bunch of little ones on the way to the big hairy scary one? Savo.
So future pacing to me is like similar, like setting goals. Something when I first talk to people, I put WTB, want to be, what do they want? And I go, if I can go poof, and what would do anything for you, what would you like? And then they come up with these goals and the La La Land, Dreamland, what they want. But see, that's something that's going really far. And so Lenora was talking about how that can seem almost unreal, and then maybe people can feel bad because they want too much too fast, and it's about incremental improvements. So, well, how do you do that? The client does it themselves by asking, okay, well, now if you can have that, whatever you like, and so let's see, what did you have to do to get there? And you break it down and you see that. And then you see on a timeline, they sort of, if they're visual, they can do it really well. If they're kinesthetic, I usually move people if I'm working in the conference room now, but I also, if it's in a small office, I don't have so much room to have a move on their timeline and sort of feel those goals. But most importantly, that this is a common knowledge. Sometimes we can help people with phobia by saying, hey, what's going to happen 15 minutes after successful completion of that event? And they visualize how they successfully completed it. Now, most importantly to me, it's about the behavior in these moments of when they reach out for that cheesecake, when they turn on porn on their TV or smartphone, or these moments, what do they do instead? So they can have choices, because choices are power. If they stay in bed for 3 hours in the morning and then just being depressed, so they can see themselves doing something else, because we can't really create something if you were to build a vehicle. TJ, you worked on cars in the past. You have to visualize it first. I have this really good a friend of mine who is coming to build my quad now, and he literally took a whole day to visualize and to draw what he's going to do. So in the head first, on the paper, and now we are ordering parts. And I know it's going to come out great because he has a really good vision. He can visualize really good. And this guy does it unconsciously. He has been doing it for 30 years, and he just looks up and he goes, this is, and so that's creating future. We do it all the time. Another thing about future pacing is I notice a lot of people have memories for the future. So they have them, but they're not aware. But you ask someone, where are you going to be in 2 weeks? And they look to the, let's say, to the right. So you can tell their timeline is going that way. So that's something helpful. And they go, well, I'm going to be doing this. But they go, I don't have memories for the future. Well, you obviously do, and you create them based on your past. So that's another way. And what if shitty feeling comes up? What if, I'm there and the shame comes up, and I'm like, well, welcome it. And what else? It's a part of you, man. Like, what is that shame trying to do for you? And then you look at the intention and you go, is it okay for that shame to be there in the future? Because remember, we become what we fight the most.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, man. And I like the spin on that. We future pace all the time, constantly. It kind of saddens me that people have more acceptance to future pace a construction process for a house than they do for their life. It still takes planning, thought process, figuring out what you want that final project to look like. Well, the same with your life. Yeah, but what if the sink doesn't fit? Well, you either modify the plans or you get a different sink. Well, yeah, but would my plans be a failure then? No. Do you still have a house in the end? Yeah. I've been working construction and working on cars and all the above long enough to know plans don't always go exactly the way you thought they would. And I've had enough projects where I'm out buying product and bring it back, and they're like, well, why'd you buy that? I said, well, it was a good price. Well, what are you going to do with it? I'm not sure yet. And you bought it anyway? Because I know that I don't buy it without some potential to utilize it. Great quote, Lenora. Dad often says, plans are made in pencil. Yes. And so is future pacing. But it's a form of setting down the guidelines, the blueprints of what it could potentially be. Even with a house design, you have to look at the terrain a little bit and realize that you can't put a standard house on a mountainside without modification. And if the terrain is the life you're in right now, but you want this great house, you have to work on yourself to modify it to apply to the landscape. or you change the landscape. Jim Rohn often said, if you don't like where you're at, move. You're not a tree. And what Dr. David Snyder said when one of the students said, well, I want to make more money, he said, then move. Like, what? Move. Move to a location that's more expensive. If you want to make more money, move to a place like La Jolla. Because you'll be in the presence of people whose mindsets are set on making more money. You don't move to La Jolla and then move into a house of 12 people who all have scarcity mindset. If you do, it's for a season. And you only go home to sleep. The rest of the time, you make sure that you are around the people that are making the kind of money that you want to make. You hang out at the country club. You figure out a way to be at the country club or the executive lounge or the place where all of the top movers and shakers hang out, and you become friends with them and you start being who they are. And then you future pace, what steps does it take to be amongst them as equals? Any input on that?
This
T.
is
Harv,
uh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, you mentioned Jim Rohn saying you can move, you're not a tree. And he also says geese go towards certain direction in the winter time. In the winter, they usually go by the water or ocean, and it's just how they have to do it by nature. But even a goose knows where to go. It can decide which water, which ocean, lake, and sometimes sometimes I think animals outsmart people, and also only people can screw up things like sex. Dogs don't have sexual anxiety. They know when it's time to go, they go, and go for it. But see, people overthink sometimes, and yet, even in the Bible it says that, not to worry, because even birds, they have everything needed given, and sometimes people get too much of it in their head and on their way, sort of. Yeah.
And I love the quote, birds don't worry about the strength of the branch because they trust in their wings.
Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
branch breaks, I go to a better one. And I was going to say, T. Harv Eker had a great concept in Millionaire Mindset book that went right along with the concept of hanging around where the people that you want to be like hang out. He said, even if you can't afford to be at the country club, go there as much as you can, even if you only order a soft drink. And yes, it'll be a $20 soft drink, even though it costs you $10 for the 24 pack that you keep at home. Because you're there to observe, learn, and get to know the people that are at the level you are going to be at. because in that environment, you rise. And I've done it. I've gone into those places and the spotlight effect was on me. I'm like, they all know that I am broke as a joke. They got shoes on that cost more than I've got in my bank account. But I also looked around and saw some people that were dressed just like me. In fact, a couple of them had shoes that were in worse shape than mine. Because rich people don't have to show they're rich. It's the mindset. One of the funniest things I ever saw was showing different performers, especially in the rap community, when they first started out and wanted to look all bad and gangster and rich, and they had gold and they had this is look at the brand name that I'm wearing, and look at my kicks, and look at in my grills and everything. And then after they've made it and they're worth millions, wearing an old t-shirt, an old pair of jeans, and you can't even tell what brand the jeans are, and a pair of standard off-the-shelf shoes. It's up here. And I'd rather be rich than pretend I'm rich. I'd rather love my life because of what it has in it. I've been blessed upon blessed. I've had more people realize that tell me how rich I am, even if my bank account doesn't show the right numbers. Lenora.
One thing that had always stood out was you had mentioned once about money and how money is everywhere. And I had noticed recently that and you know, when you listen to stuff and it just goes deeper the 1001th time that you've heard it, that's pretty much how it was. And the idea of that money is all around us just kept resonating deeper and deeper with me. And I had realized it made more sense too, because when you were saying that you were on a different frequency, then I was on a different frequency. And when I started to see things from your perspective and from other people's perspective, and even having conversations, quite literally having conversations in my mind with people who have a different frequency about money, it's very easy for me to see, oh, you're just in a different zone and you're chasing it versus attracting it, or you're putting out a different frequency than the one that you really want to. And it just keeps reminding myself of, where's your frequency? Where's your frequency? Where are you? Where are you thinking? Where are your thoughts? Focus on your attention. Where are your focused thoughts going? Are they on this way or that way? It's just very interesting. And I think even at the very beginning, you had mentioned about how people change around you. And is it for a reason or a season? And then there was also, when you start to change, the people around you start to change. But quite literally, sometimes their sentences are like, you would not have said that 2 weeks ago. And it's just wild to notice that, I think is the most shocking.
Yeah. Please, Fran.
Well, I'm afraid I've been in and out of this call because things have dropped out when they shouldn't have. And I just wanted to say how much I appreciated the parts that I did catch about your tribe and your family These last few days, there's been some really dramatic family stuff happening. And maybe I need to be reminded where resilience is, because we're all human and we all drop in and out of our strength. And sometimes we need to remember to teach the stuff to find our own resources again. Can I have your cut and your take on that and anybody else's? Thank you.
I'm really glad you brought that up. That goes right back in line with loving yourself more than anybody else. Family, friends, spouse, whatever. And it sounds a little counterintuitive and it sounds selfish and all these sounds like da 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 da. But one of my clients who I've been going pretty hard on about this in the beginning, this last session actually broke down in tears. She said, I get it. I finally get it. She goes, I was trying to get my children to love me. And when I finally backed off and stopped chasing them and started loving myself first and treating myself first and doing what I needed for me first, I became somebody I wasn't, and my kids came back to me.
I think that's exactly the point that I needed to be reminded of, that yes, you got to sort out the me first and be okay wherever you are for everything else to start flowing in the right direction around you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fran, I had noticed, I know a couple of weeks ago I had mentioned about the third dimension thoughts, and then the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension. Third dimension being very limiting, fourth dimension being a lot of possibility. And what I also started to wonder is, at least for me, I feel like I was raised very clearly in the third dimension. And that's where money has been. That's where a variety of things have been. And as I've worked on myself and as I've evolved, my perspective has also evolved. And the things that worked for other people do not work for me because I now have a different perspective. So the rest of this has to come up to this, because it's such a mismatch that it can't align. So now everything's rising up to the idea of possibility. And I don't know if it seems foreign for you to think, come back to me, come back to loving myself. I don't know if a part of you feels like it's foreign. For me, it absolutely was when I had first started to hear that. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's because it was something I was never taught to do, but I'm being asked to do it as this being that I am here, in this version that I am here, and to do it another way than what I had seen. And that is something I keep reminding myself, going, what worked for them over there, I don't know how it worked, but that's not working for me. I need to come and do it this way, in whatever way feels aligned for me. That resonates, I hope.
Thank you. I think one of the things that I've noticed again and again when sort of when life happens and, you slip below the level that you'd like to be operating at, that I sometimes attract people to me with similar problems, or maybe in a different suit. But if I actually work on helping them, I help me a lot as well, and refind my own strengths and my own resilience.
Sabo.
And I think the same is true the other way around. When people raise their frequency and they start improving, then some things, and people naturally fall off. Like 10 years ago, I was working out with my friend Aldi, and he's the guy who owns a big trucking company. And he helped me a little bit to start with my business. And he really reminded me what you said, TJ. This guy had shoes that were worth more than my bank account. And I actually remember that. It's not just a funny story, it's the fact. And I was training that guy. And as I was making progress through life, it was inevitable. And I think I also attracted a lot of people and clients because they see the progress is real, as opposed to, and then yes, the things shift and change. And recently something extraordinary happened to me. I met someone. I wanted to ask you guys for advice, but I don't know how much time we have here. And I'm going into this project with a business partner, and it's a complete new business. Maybe TJ, I can bring this up to you, or next time in the meeting. I would love to hear your opinion on that.
Cool.
Because we have only 3-4 minutes left.
Again, this is why we evolve tribes, constantly looking for additions to the tribe to add to. And yes, people will fall off along the way, but don't picture yourself as searching for a tribe so that you can go in and go, okay, now I belong to this tribe. Search for people that improve your tribe and let them introduce you to their tribe to improve their tribe. And do the best you can to find tribes that are smarter than you, wealthier than you, more future visioned than you, all the above, so that you can rise up to their level and then continue to look for higher level. And again, in doing so, there will be certain people from certain tribes that will fall off along the way, reason or a season. When you were with them, they were the best ones yet. And you don't burn the bridge, but you don't stay stagnant either. I've got some friends that I didn't burn the bridge with, but they are a time warp. They are a time, what do you call it? Not the time lock. They have done virtually nothing but exist since the day I've met them. And that's not for me to judge. That's their choice in life. And actually, one of the nice things I like about knowing them is it reminds me where I've come from.
I think one of the other things that can be frustrating is when you've got these time warps happening and you think people are moving along and developing, and then they flip right back to
Yes.
the worst aspect that you were hoping to help them move forward from. But it's their life and their choice.
Yes, and when you see that, what do you do with the oxygen mask? Put it on yourself first. Because you can lead them to water, and some just want to take a bath in their water. Like, that'll be tasty when you're done. Next. And that brought us to the top of the hour. I hope you guys got something, few things, hopefully. For those of you watching on YouTube, love you, Mom. And it's time for me to close out the way I always do, in thanking you for your time. It's one thing I cannot produce and give you more of or give it back to you. So for you to invest your very precious, limited commodity on this platform with all these people, thank you. Just seeing your face added to the experience. I hope to see you guys back here in 7. And until then, please go out and live the best and most amazing. If you need help with aspects of your life, please reach out to any of us. I know all of you are agents of change in your own realm, your own way. We all care about people. We all want to help people. No matter how big or small the change we make, that's why we're here. So go out, make the world a better place, be nice to people, and yes, Savo, God bless. You have an amazing week as well, my brother, and I will see you guys hopefully in 7. Bye.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.